Hello and welcome back for our third match with Twinblade. We are on the play and have a pretty reasonable hand. It's got two cantrips, Jace, Batter, Skull, some lands. It's fine, nothing amazing, nothing terrible. We're definitely pondering on turn one, and if we find a 2-drop, just gonna cast that one. And we found a 2-drop. Cool. So, doesn't really matter in what order we put these back as long as Mystic isn't on the bottom. Although I suppose it is nice to have a second Brainstorm over a fourth land. So, our opponent has Catacombs for Underground Sea and Entomb. Okay, well, no graveyard hate in our deck, nor any soft counters main deck, which is a bit of a problem. However, we do have this Caracas in our hand, which is, you know, pretty nice. I'm happy with it. So I think we want Sword of Feast and Famine, since Jit isn't going to do us much good, and Sword might actually get us through some creatures that we would otherwise not be able to get through. I mean, we're putting Batterskull in play first regardless, but, you know. So, our plan is Caracas, Gristlebrand, and then put Batterskull in play. It'll be interesting to see whether or not our opponent can put a second creature into play this turn. Our opponent really going all in on this, given that they're going to have to discard 11 of these cards next turn, and they are not connecting with a Gristlebrand without something like Shallow Grave. So they can't, like, Entomb Reanimate. They can certainly cast cantrips, but we aren't going to be doing much besides putting equipment in play with Stoneforge Mystic and bouncing legendary creatures with Caracas, so the counter magic isn't going to be great, and I'm not really sure what else our opponent could have. They've seen half their deck, which is, you know, good for them. So we're going to draw our Volcanic Island. No, we're not. We shuffled that one away. It would be nice to draw a Volcanic Island. But yeah, I'm actually not really sure how our opponent beats our turn 4 kill. They also didn't draw another Entomb, since they would have fired that one off, I think. Although they can basically resolve whatever they want. It's a matter of, like... I guess, actually, if you have, like, Entomb Exhume and you have Elishnorn, no, I can still make them pick that one up. How do you not Thoughtseize a Batterskull away here? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, well... So our opponent entombs. We might as well get the Volcanic Island. See what our opponent gets. It's hard to imagine anything that both gains life. Ah, yes, Tidespout Tyrant. Not bad. So, if we cast Deceiver Exarch, and they counter it, then we exhume it, and then we get the untap trigger, but they can cast a Brainstorm, which they almost certainly have, and bounce something of ours. So we have to Caracas this now so that they can't pick up Animate Dead. Because Animate Tidespout is pretty bad for us. So yeah, our opponent presumably going to cast something and bounce our Stoneforge Mystic. We'll get Batterskull into play, and maybe not. Sure would. Huh. So... I think we just attack with Germ here. Odd as that is. That can't be right. I think we just pass, honestly. Like, we have more counterplay at instant speed, and it's worth just getting all of that out of the way. Seeing what our opponent does. So our opponent's got to bounce this Germ at some point. Fascinating. So we're going to cast Deceiver Exarch. Hopefully our opponent forces it and makes us pick up something else. Our goal is to just make our opponent counter our stuff and eventually land a Jace and make him pick up Tidespout Tyrant. Bouncing Batter Skull, sure. So, Exarch. Forcing it. Alright. Bouncing our Caracas. We're going to brainstorm and see if our opponent wants to snap off a Daze. They don't, but we do get to brainstorm these cards back, which isn't bad. So we're going to pick up our stuff. He's going to attack us for some amount. It's worth noting that our opponent's clock isn't going to go much above 5. Right, all of their creatures in their graveyard are Gristlebrand's. Ooh, we should have hit Jace. That was really bad. Because if they thought sees us, then they take Jason. Well, actually, we can just plow Tidespout Tyrant. Yeah, we're basically just digging for a plow here. Alright. I can get behind this. So they don't shuffle. Presumably means, yep, more spells. Petals and cantrips into cantrips. So yeah, Jace is pretty squarely off the table at this point. Although we're definitely fetching away an equipment. And pondering. I would not like any of these lands. I would like to shuffle. Oh, look. A Swords to Plowshares. So discard some lands. I'm interested in what our opponent has. So Entomb, sure. It doesn't look like we're going to have the ability to beat a Daze this game, but I am certainly game. They entombed for a Scalding turn, I see. So we can look for a force, and we'll end up on 1. Although our opponent has to have exactly force and blue card, which is theoretically possible. They didn't play a land. Oh, they could just have Daze. I think if I do it now, then if they have force and not anything else, then we win. And I don't think I'm ever beating a Daze. Okay. Cool. Like, if I let him untap, then he can hardcast force, which is obviously bad for us. So, had to play that one the way we did. Fortunate enough to live. And now I think we should be fine. Like, I don't think anyone plays another Tidespout Tyrant, and I can't imagine that whatever he's got can beat a Caracas. So from here we can do the honors with Mystic for Batterskull, Violet in, attack twice. I would like to search my library. Cool. So this is how you beat Reanimator without Graveyard Hate. You just free roll a Caracas, you draw it in your opening hand, you make them pick up their Gristlebrand, and no. You almost F6 through your turn. Not that it really matters, but just in case. We have so much more f6 value. Yeah, f6. The only way I can imagine losing is to Shallow Grave. So I'm not really interested in keeping Brainstorm up. All of our cards that we want are in play. I can imagine like some random Goryo's Vengeance or Shallow Grave getting us. But that's about it. Pithing Needle naming. The main deck Pithing Needle is nice. Now I understand why they wanted it to draw 14. It was because they had a main deck piece of anti-hate. Which is adorable. Probably actually just fine, but kind of awesome that we don't have any graveyard hate in our deck, and we're going to be alright. I may have spoke too soon. Okay, well, we're actually just going to brainstorm all of these into our hand. Get rid of this Jet. Get rid of this Tundra. Hawk it up. So I guess we have to not lose to Elishnorn here. But given that he could have found Elishnorn literally whenever, I guess the way we don't lose to Elishnorn is if we attack with Germ. That makes sense. Our opponent's going to be able to draw most of their deck next turn anyway. So now we can survive the removal of a blocker. We do not need all of these Hawks. Our opponent literally down to 8 cards in their deck. Ooh, Iona. That's bad for us. Oh dear. Oh no. If they exhume Iona, then we get our Deceiver Exarch back. Oh, yes, please. Elishnorn, that's no good. I thought they didn't have Elishnorn in their graveyard. Okay. I was like pretty sure that they didn't have it. Okay. Whatever. Our opponent chose white. You don't say. Hmm. So, if we Splinter Twin our Exarch, make a bunch of copies, one of them chumps Elishnorn, one of them taps Iona. Ooh, no. That doesn't work. We can't cast Squadron Hawks. If we bounce Iona... There has to be a way out of this. Okay, so we brainstorm. Oh, I shouldn't have played Scalding Tarn. Yeah, that was really bad. Yeah, so... It's fine, actually. Like, we need to Exarch this turn, making him... tapping one of his flyers, probably this one because it gains life. And untap, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Cast Twin... No, cast Jace. Yeah, so he hardcasts Force and we lose this game. Okay. Yeah, we checked that somewhere. It was the turn where he like cast Needle and did all of the other stuff. So, not super into Squadron Hawks or Splinter Twins. And not in love with these Deceiver Exarchs either. Or this Jit. The Exarchs are fine as like a tempo play, but they're worse than everything else in the deck. The Twins are obviously just rubbish. So our plan is to not die in the early turns. Ooh. Which it looks like we'll be able to. And plow his early card. We actually don't really want this Force Will if it means taking 2 lands. Or if it means taking another land. Like, we have a bunch of plows, so might as well stick with those. What we really need is a threat. Our opponent kicking off with Brainstorm is either awful or terrifying. But it remains to be seen. So we don't want to get our Ponder dazed. We do want this Stoneforge Mystic, and we do want this Wear Tear. Although Wear Tear is actually just worse than Mystic. So definitely want Mystic. If we need Plow, then at least we have Mystic, and we get another land next turn if we're patient. Well, looks like we're probably going to lose our Mystic, but at least we have Exarch and Sword. So that's nice. At least we got that going for us. So yeah, they take Mystic. We get to keep our land. Discarding Reanimate is... Oh, they don't have a creature. That's awesome. Cool. So we're just going to get our trio of non-basics since our opponent isn't going to like Blood Moon us or whatever. So we get our non-basics, pass, and then Exarch a land in upkeep. Whenever our opponent wants to let our Scalding Tarn activation resolve. Any time now. Plateau. And volcanic. So our opponent forces, and they still don't have any creature in sight, which is sweet. Force draw nothing. Force draw nothing. Cool. Well, let's get this sword in play since it's not doing anything in our hand. Well, when you're good, you're good. Sometimes you're a core artificer. Getting the better skill. The betterer of skills. So yeah, like I said, I like the Jace Stoneforge Mystic side of the matchup quite a lot. I think that there are just a bunch of different angles that are available. Actually, we're just gonna hold off here. Get better skill into play, and equip then. No real reason, just like throwing mana around for little gain. And like, if we got to untap Stoneforge Mystic, obviously attack, but our opponent is going hard in the paint on this one. Okay. So we have to force this animate dead. Living weapon triggers. We are going to get a Deceiver Exarch out of the deal. Our opponent's already blown through 2 Lotus Petals and their land drop, I think. So, goal here is pretty simple. We want to resolve one of our 2 plows. I mean, we're going to get to do it. That is not the concern. And then we're going to actually take a good chunk of life away from our opponent. So yeah, despite keeping like an alright but not great hand, Stoneforge Mystic pulls through. Sword of Feast and Famine has been phenomenal lately. Like, I've wanted it way more than I thought I would. So, yeah, reanimate off the table. The only thing that really gets them out of it is Iona. But apparently didn't have it, and we're on to game 3. So, I don't think there's much that I'd like to change here. Our 4s all blow them out. Stoneforge Mystic is Stoneforge Mystic, our 3s are disruptive, and all of our 1s are awesome. This hand seems just fine. Yep, keeping this one on the draw. Opening multiple Force of Wills in a deck with this much draw power is just like so good. Especially since we get to ship an extra Jace. And our opponent is mulliganing. So like, just that much better. Oh, they thought they were turn 1ing us. Well, not so much with that. I would not like to shuffle my library. I like it exactly as it is, thank you. So our opponent needs to hit a land and, yeah, would have to have exactly Entomb. It would have to have Daze Reanimate. And now has no way to win. So we're going to force pitching Vendelion. So do we want to shuffle away this force? I think we do. I think we would rather draw lands than start with a Force of Will. And to keep up our red elemental blast. Hit lands. Thank you. And just reb the very first thing that he does. Brainstorm, and we are good. We are just set. Don't need this sword or ponder. So yeah, we're just gonna Jace up to 7 and then start Fate Sealing. Just might as well outcard him in every possible way. Trade where possible. Shuffle away our sword. So yeah, we've basically got this one locked up. We have 4 pieces of instant speed interaction. I don't think our opponent is going to be able to beat us here. And the whittling away continues. Not really sure why they didn't massacre there, but alright. I'm not going to argue. Gonna shuffle away our Jason Stoneforge. Yeah. We find a sower, so gonna keep that one as show and tell plus... I don't know. I don't know how they would resolve a show and tell, but in case they resolve a show and tell, we have a way to beat it. So Pithing Needle probably naming Jace or Caracas. I'm not really sure which, but I still get to use the other. Name's Jace. Okay. Well, gonna blow that up. Big red giant smash. Alright. Well, we've got 7, they've got 2. And I think we're ahead on board. Might as well get Batterskull. Shuffle away the extra Jason. Untap all our lands. And pass with 7 again. And this time it is us who is outdrawing our opponent by 15. Alright, alright. No more chasing. You got it. So we have 3, 4... 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not quite enough. Okay. Well, I think that will about do it. So, that's the matchup against Reanimator. As you can see, even without Graveyard Hate, it's like decent. You've just got a bunch of ways to stall them, and Jace is generally a little better than Gristlebrand. And with that, I'll be back for one more match.